right. So hi. Welcome to the interview. It's really nice to meet you. First of all, I just have a quick question for you. So, what do you know about our Address Teen Stress organization, just to start off?
Well, through some of the research that I've done, I know that your goal is to bring awareness to teens with, who are dealing with stress and, to kind of open up communication lines for that and bring more awareness to the amount of stress that teens are under these days.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a mental health initiative from five high school teen girls. So there's me, Hannah, Alicia, Audrey, and Vedika, but fortunately they couldn't be here today. And
Mhm.
it's basically a project to address teen stress, something that doesn't really get talked about a lot, and to spread awareness on the topic. So I'm Abba, and we can start the interview.
Okay,
So
great.
can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I am, let's see here. I am a mom of two young boys, 6 and 8 years old, and they outsmart me all the time. Very active and fun, being a boy mom. And I have been married to and with my husband for over 25 years. We got together when we were 19 years old, so second semester of college, and we've been married for over 14 years. And I am also an RTT, or rapid transformational therapist. So I do a lot of healing work with clients working in the subconscious mind. So it's amazing. I love it because I see an actual transformation from a lot of pain and struggle, trauma, and a lot of mental blocks, and then them actually changing and becoming more free. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
So, as a therapist, are you also like a mental health therapist or just an
Mhm.
RT? So, as a mental health therapist, what is your viewpoint pertaining to mental health among teenagers?
I think that issues with mental health among teenagers is growing exponentially. I think that it's becoming, I hate to use the word epidemic, but really it is. It's really quite sad and it's quite alarming. It's something that we need to be really actively addressing. And just like what you're doing with this project, bringing awareness, helping people, helping kids, teens to feel comfortable, to talk about how they feel, to talk about what they're going through, helping teens, parents, guidance counselors, whoever, grandparents, it doesn't matter, but their teen support system to be able to come together, so that the teen feels comfortable, talking about things and getting some help, actually getting a resolution.
So, when you hear the statement, mental health is just as important as physical health, what is your opinion on that? Like, do you agree with it, or why not?
Oh, I absolutely agree with it. So with the work that I do, the mind body connection is completely on point. It's 100% connected. Every thought that we think, every feeling we have creates a physical reaction in our body. So with every thought and feeling we have, it's either going to produce, for example, if it's negative or stressful, it's going to produce adrenaline or cortisol in the body, right? Or if it's loving, if it's compassionate, if it's respectful, it's going to produce hormones like oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine in the body. So when we are under a lot of stress, when our body is overproducing cortisol, when we're overproducing adrenaline, which can lead to adrenal fatigue, then the body is then swimming in those hormones. So if we don't have the awareness, that mind body connection, And also the physical outlet, right? So eating healthy, sleeping properly, getting the physical exercise that's needed, then our mind and our body cannot operate at its best potential. I know teens absolutely, from a physiological standpoint, need more sleep. Children up through the teenage years need to have more sleep than even adults do. And teens are staying up later due to, you know, stresses, maybe school, maybe extracurricular activities, work, because now they're starting to take on, different roles in their life, more roles than they did when they were children. So sleep is what the first thing that's going to go, except it's definitely needed. I remember when I was a teenager, oh my gosh, I used to have to sleep so much, and my mom would make fun of me all the time. But then she would follow it up with, but you really do need it. Like your body, your mind, your brain is changing. And that's the one thing that I think that is another part of a conversation that we can talk about another time, but I do want to address is the brain development of kids, from the time you're babies to children to teenagers is always changing up through your mid 20s. So even as a teenager, your brain is not fully developed yet. So you don't have, you need more sleep so the brain can develop, but you don't have the executive decision making skills yet, the impulse control, that risk versus, what's the word I'm looking for? The risk versus punishment, so to speak. That's why you guys will take more risks as teenagers, because you don't get that just yet. And so that brain needs time to develop.
And
I
speaking
think I,
of like mental health, how was your mental health growing up as a teenager? And did that ever influence like the fact that you're a mental health therapist now?
I think that my mental health, growing up, it was tough. I mean, I had a lot of insecurity, a lot of feelings of being different, of feeling pressured to, am I doing the right things? Questioning myself, feeling like I wasn't very confident, even though my outward appearance might look as though I was confident. Um, you know, and I look back at that, and it's sad, really. I know that I'm not the only one. I know a lot of teenagers are going through that exact same thing. And part of it's growing up. It's you're changing, you're constantly changing. As a person, as a teenager, going from being a child, being in that in between stage of, well, I'm not a kid technically, but I'm not an adult. I'm still relying on my parents, except that I'm now starting to, begin thinking about and starting to take on some responsibilities, like adults might take on, starting to think for myself and make my own decisions, which, can have, we are going to have, a reward or, something like that to it.
So when you're speaking to teens and stuff like that, what do you think is the number one cause of teen stress besides sleep?
I think it's either a perceived or real pressure to perform, to be successful at whatever it is that they're doing. So whether it be grades or sports or, maybe they've got to make money for the family or, um, you know, um, I think to be something that they're maybe not quite sure they're ready for yet. I think that pressure is quite, it's quite strong. And that definitely adds to stress. Another stress factor, and you might not want to hear this, but is the overuse of social media, is being on social media so much. that you aren't in the present moment. You stop truly one-on-one or in groups connect you not completely stop your connection with others, and we absolutely need to connect as human beings. We need to be with others face to face, person to person, and social media just doesn't do that. And social media adds so much pressure to kids to perform, to be something who they might not be, you know? So I think those are huge. Mhm.
And under these serious circumstances, how do you think your coping mechanisms has changed since when you were a teenager till now?
Um, my coping mechanisms are completely different because I, have number one, been through therapy myself, been through rapid transformational therapy. I think that it's allowed me to see all the past beliefs that I've held on to. Because what happens is when we go through experiences as a child with a child's mind, think about an undeveloped brain who doesn't have um, the ability to understand the full picture of a situation. And I could give hundreds of examples of that. But they then form beliefs. So a child can go through the same experience as an adult, and they will walk away with two completely different understandings and interpretations of what just happened. And same with any person, any human being, it's the same exact thing. And but a child will form a beliefs through a child's eyes. Those beliefs stay with them forever until, because what happens is it gets accepted into the subconscious mind, because we have our conscious mind, our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind only accepts and holds on to information and beliefs. So when a child, a teen, a person, when those beliefs are accepted, they don't even realize they go through life with these beliefs that maybe they're not loved, maybe they won't be accepted. And that goes back to that question you asked me about performance, the pressure to succeed, the pressure to perform at a certain level. Maybe some of that comes from, and that stress comes from, if I don't, I won't be loved, I won't be accepted either by my peers, by my family, by my teachers and my coaches. And there's a huge pressure on that. And so that's something that, we need to absolutely explore with each individual, um, to help them understand that they are loved and that they are going to be accepted, and to look at the approach for them individually on how that might be. But so basically, when children have these and they carry them into adulthood, we become parents, we become grandparents, we still have our issues, we still take that, and then we raise our kids. Then they get there, and then they have issues, and they have struggle and pain. And it isn't until we actively go in and say, okay, why do I have confidence issues? Why do I constantly have to feel like I have to overachieve? Why am I under so much stress? What is the stress that I'm putting on myself? And we actively go in and we investigate it like detectives, and we reveal the root cause. Once you reveal the root cause of what your issues are, your specific issues are, you have power, because now you can change. And then once you can change the subconscious mind, because now when you rewire, and that's building new neural pathways in the brain, so that goes to neuroscience. When you build new neural pathways in the brain, you rewire your brain. You can deal with stress differently. Everyone's going to have stress, right? It's a fact. There's no escaping it. If you live on the planet Earth, you are going to have some stress in your life. Doesn't matter. But when you change the root cause, if you are someone who has stress and anxiety and depression, those are all, anxiety and depression are symptoms of a root cause of something deeper. You can change. You don't have to have anxiety and depression your whole life. But when you identify that root cause, then you can say, okay, what are my triggers? I can stop it. I can change. You're not going to be as stressed. You're going to be able, you're going to be more empowered. You're going to be able to be more calm, cool, and collective in challenging situations because you have a good self-awareness of you. And that's where it starts, having self-awareness.
That was really informative. Thank you for that. Just a little quick therapy question. Um, what do you think is a really big misconception that a lot of others view on therapists or therapy in general?
Wow, that is a big question. Big misconception, I think, is that, wow, it could be therapy doesn't work. Um, it can be that therapy is a bad word. Um, we all need therapy. Let's just call that like it is. Everyone needs help at some point in some time. I look at therapy as a journey. And the way that I approach therapy, and also it doesn't have to take a long time. People think, oh God, I have to go to therapy. It's take forever. Because what happens is and this is not to discount any therapist, because again, I think therapy is amazing. But when you are just working through the conscious mind, you are not tackling the subconscious beliefs. And that's the root cause of the issues, because what you think is the problem in conscious mind, which is beta brainwave, which you and I are in right now, is most likely not. You could have attached a meaning to something and didn't even realize you did it. So looking at therapy, I look at it as, this is a journey, and get the help, get the support you need, and find the right person.
All right, so I have one last question for you. When it comes to someone that is struggling with mental health, what would be your words of advice to them, or perhaps to your younger self?
Um, I think the words of advice would be, you're not alone. Um, Everyone struggles at one point or another. And our feelings are the most real thing that we have. So, and they don't go away if we don't deal with them. We'll suppress them, hence depression. And so feel your feelings, talk about them, find a support group, a support person. You are capable and you are valuable and you matter. And I would say one of the the things that I get a lot of times with my clients, that I see on a reoccurring basis, is a feeling of rejection. It's huge. And we're all afraid. Most when people have that feeling of rejection, it's that they're not going to be loved, accepted, for who they are, and or maybe what they're going through at that time, how they're showing up or how they're not showing up in the world. And the only person who can reject you is you. If you wouldn't trade your life for another, don't give them any power over you. They don't get your power. That power is reserved for you, and you are the most important person on the planet. And if you can look at yourself every single day in the mirror for real, like look into your eyes and you tell yourself that you are the most important person in the world, that you matter and that you are loved and that you love yourself. It's very difficult to do. People find it so hard, but it will, as when it, even though it's challenging in the beginning for most people to do that, because it's a hard look. It's like looking into your soul, and it's tough. Often if you look, think about it, how often do you really stare at yourself in the mirror, like yourself? And if you can do that, you will help yourself and never allow anyone to put their feelings of rejection. You'll never accept rejection again. And you'll be able to cope with stress a lot easier.
All right,
It
thank
does
you.
wonders.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you so much, Miss Lauren. I really appreciate it. And from our past series with teens that we have tried sharing their stories, a lot of them have said that therapy is something that kind of helped them in their mental health journey. So we're
Right.
really happy to have an interview with the actual therapist like you. And so to have that input on mental health in a different kind of perspective. So thank you so much for coming. We really
Welcome.
appreciate you.
Thank
And
you for having me.
tag you on your on your post for sure. Do you have any questions for me before we end the interview?
Um, I don't think so. Absolutely. If you guys, if you have any other questions or anything like that, please, I just posted up some videos about how our minds work, which I think is so valuable because that can help teens understand a little bit more and give themselves some grace about what they may be going through and how they, if, with their own stress levels, some internal struggles and things like that. Because in that video, How the Mind Works, I do talk about that mind body connection and how you can connect the two to, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, and for sure we will definitely share those on our stories so more people can take a look because these are very like valuable information that I feel like a lot of people should get into and learn more about. So
Mhm.
thank you
Perfect.
so much for coming. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Great day.
Take care. Bye bye.